Zamir, you're looking different.
I am. I'm smaller. I'm blonder.
And you have stunning blue eyes. It's okay. You just started and I'm already making you feel awkward. This is great. So you may have noticed that we've swapped out Zamir and...
Out with the old, in with the new.
Oh, shots fired. Samir's going to watch this and feel some pain.
He's not. He's at the F1.
We thought we'd get some fresh ideas in, and thank you, Leon, for stepping up to the plate.
Thank you. Big shoes to fill. Zamir is a size 11 and I'm a size 9.5. So I think I'm going to be around 90% as good as Zamir.
What my wife tells me is it's all about how you use it. So you'll be fine.
We'll see.
All right. So more awkwardness and inappropriate stuff. Let's go.
What are we talking about today? So you've been busy.
We have been very busy, but we're always busy.
Always busy. You are always auditing new accounts and talking with new brands who possibly want to work with us.
Yes, because it's actually one of the favorite things about what we do, because I get to talk to so many different business owners and see so many different companies, how they operate, and we get to see under the hood and get to see loads of accounts.
And lots of exciting potential about what's coming up, really. I guess a lot of these new brands are bringing new innovations and new products that you guys are seeing before many people. Which is quite fun.
There's some interesting stuff out there, and it's really cool to bring it to the people. But in doing that, we often see a lot of common mistakes and common errors.
Yeah, a lot of the same mistakes, you would say.
Same, but different.
So today, we're going to share with our audience some of those questions and some of those mistakes that we're seeing a lot of these brands having. And
I'm thankful that you brought this up as a topic, because this will potentially save a lot of people a lot of money, that's important, and a lot of time, also important. And hopefully you'll be able to kind of draw some nuggets from this. So, yeah.
But before that, there's been some interesting news happening in e-commerce in the past week, to be honest. When I was looking into the news, I was shocked actually at how much news occurs in the e-commerce
in the world
space.
of e-commerce.
So first, we're going to run through some of the stories that our brands and the brands that we work with and the brands that we don't work with need to know.
A little tease as to what's coming up. First the news, then our views.
Perfect.
Nice and random. Let's do it.
Cool. Number 1. So global e-commerce held up in June. It actually saw a 9.5% increase year on year, and it achieved 436.8 billion in e-commerce revenue. We know that May was also up, and a big reason why for this is we think Prime Day. Prime Day is pulled forward into June this year rather than July, so a lot of that US growth has been because of that, and it has actually been the biggest shopping period so far in 2026. And the World Cup, I would assume, is also at play.
So general festivities. I think that's interesting. The way I see this playing out is, one, April being down. So again, because we talk to so many accounts, I was hearing from so many people that April is a down month, and they were trying to figure out why their sales are kind of flat or low or just not where they should be in April. Fortunately, and this is a humble brag, but it is a brag, our brands do quite well. So we weren't seeing that dip, and we were trying to figure out what's going on in the market. So this explains a lot of it, that kind of uplift. But the other thing as well, I don't think you can escape the realities of geopolitics on e-commerce and consumer behavior.
Yeah.
And April, as you'll know, was a very volatile period. There was literally global wars going on. There was a lot of... there's a big choke point in the Persian Gulf, right? So that was affecting markets, and I think that uncertainty made people hold back and not buy the way they normally would have bought.
But what's strange, because I was thinking about that today when I was looking into this, the markets are up 9.5% and up in May as well, year on year, which is still surprising considering those geopolitics, those wars are still happening, and the price of oil is still high, and, strikes are still happening. So I guess, I know life has to move on after the war starts. People can't just sit and dwell.
I think they get used to it. But also there's a bit more certainty. I feel like, so they have a truce. There's at least between Iran and the US. There's that rough, fragile truce and this kind of MOU that's kind of come through. So I think that's kind of helped it come through. And then all those fun things that you mentioned are catalyzed an excuse to keep purchasing.
Maybe it is people buying the price of commodities going up because of all the geopolitics, and ultimately people still having to buy them.
Yeah.
Because they are necessity purchases. What I found interesting is there was 3 categories listed that were driving the growth.
Oh, okay, this is cool.
Care products.
Care
products.
Okay.
Which may be a bit, is that a bit
Okay.
ambiguous?
It is very ambiguous.
Okay.
But it's okay.
The second one was fashion.
Fashion, yeah.
Seems in line with the heat wave, people buying new clothes for summer. But the third one, which I found very interesting, is DIY.
Summertime. Well, Northern Hemisphere summer.
Summertime. I'm not sure if DIY often sees a trend, but again, maybe this comes down to people trying to not use professionals and doing work themselves to save money.
I think it's kind of like that DIY, the home stuff, but you always get an uplift in this stuff over summer. It's interesting that it would have been down over April because April is when Easter exists, and Easter is a big period for doing DIY at home. So that's interesting. But I guess all that pent-up purchasing is kind of like come through into the summer months, which from all the data that I see, there's generally an uplift over the summer months.
Okay. So where do you see it going from now? We've been up for 2 months in a row quite considerably year on year. April was down. Again, we know that Prime Day was pulled forward, which pulled a lot of that demand from what would have been July last year to June this year. Where do you see it going?
I don't see a reason why it should come down. The weather's a big player in this because that'll also feed through into grocery and bring that along. I see consistent year-on-year growths in the months coming up, and then we're going to hit Q4, and I think Q4 is going to be good, assuming there's no major economic political shocks. One could be interest rates moving. That could be a factor because the US may end up moving their interest rates. UK also. So these kinds of things might affect things, but barring any major shocks, I think it's reason to be optimistic.
Okay.
Get your inventory in order.
We'll check in next month and see if you were indeed correct, my good sir.
Oh, let's find out.
All right, what's next? The EU replaces a de minimis exemption. So we knew this was coming, but now officially, as of, I believe, July 1st, parcels are incurring a €3 fee for each customs classification within a shipment. So just to clarify what that means, 3 different types of parcels would incur €9, or if it's 2 dresses, for example, so 2 of the same item, it would still be €3. So it's the type of item.
It's based on the tariff code. The HS code that the products are logged against, for every HS code, there's going to be a €3 fee.
Yeah. And this is obviously aimed directly at Temu, Shein, and AliExpress. And we know it impacts them guys the most, which we can get into in a second. But what are your initial reactions to this news?
Yeah, I think small to medium businesses are going to be the collateral damage in this.
Okay.
Because
collateral damage.
Well, because if I'm going to be sending stock into the EU markets as well, we're also going to get hit along with Shein, Temu, and all these other big kids. So we are going to have a reciprocal. Well, we're going to have more of a problem, and it's going to be hard for us to eat that cost than them.
So for anybody who's shipping one order at a time into the EU as opposed to sending bulk.
Yeah, it's just going to encourage you to send stock into an Amazon or your own 3PL warehouse so that you can kind of avoid that.
Yeah, which is, in fairness, what we would suggest people do anyway. So maybe just another kick up the old...
It depends on the product category. That's the key thing, though. Because sometimes for a product category, it may be economical or because of the way your products are structured, you may not be able to send your stock in. It may be more economical for you to keep it in the home market. Now this is going to change that equation.
Well, aside from small to medium businesses, naturally this impacts Temu, Shein, and AliExpress. And I was reading a little bit earlier, this guy called Derek Lossing. Have you heard of him?
No.
He is an e-commerce and air cargo consultant. He says that he thinks platforms may apply the pressure to suppliers to absorb some of the costs to avoid price increases for consumers. So we're going to get Temu, Shein, AliExpress turning around to wherever their products are manufactured and squeezing them even more, which brings even more of a morality question into this. So I just find it interesting to see which way they're going to go about it, because I don't think they've already got the best reputation. And is this going to make things worse for them?
For the platforms?
Yeah.
And the platforms are fine, because if they've got the market dominance, they can just do it. It's just like any other major platform. When they change their fees, you just have to kind of go with it. You just have to take it. You can't really fight them because you're too small. And you're going to this is where government regulation bodies are needed to kind of counterbalance that. Be interesting. I think I can see most businesses just either eating it or trying to figure out ways to pass it on.
Yeah. Well, the other option is putting the price up for customers.
Yeah.
And it is showing likely at the moment that a lot of platforms are just going to do that and then show the breakdown of fees at checkout. So it's going to be another classic case where you're scrolling on the listing and something's like £20 and you're like, what a bargain. Go through to pay, and then suddenly you've got $3.99 shipping, £4 or £3. Sorry.
E-commerce meets EasyJet and Ryanair.
Yeah, that's a good comparison, actually.
Yeah,
you
think you got it, but then this, and this.
Is it almost like the US with sales tax?
Yeah, but I think with sales tax in the US though, you kind of know it because you just know your home state has an additional charge. So when you're shopping there, you just go, okay, this is the price, but I'm going to pay X% more, and you just quickly do a calculation.
Okay.
Whereas this is slightly different because until it's habitually known, I think you're going to get a little surprise as you do the checkout.
Well, quite interestingly, amongst all this, so we knew this was coming. I personally didn't know it was coming on this date. Did they announce a date when they said it was coming?
Yes, this has been going for a little while. And for all of you guys who got hammered with our little reel, we did do a little bit on this with the Scottish Government before it kicked through. But yeah.
Yeah.
It's not
countdown.
Massively announced or advertised.
Exactly. And I think the kind of repercussions of this are very important. So we know that the US did this already in August. And we know that the UK, much to a lot of small business, medium business frustration, said they weren't going to bring this in until 2030.
Yeah.
Which a lot of people were just hands in their face, as you can imagine. Now the UK have moved it up.
Yes.
So the new moved up end date for customs duty relief on low value imports to October 2028.
We did complain a lot about this, and I'm certain that people in the UK government watch our pod and
I think so.
Have changed their policies based on this.
I think so.
Absolutely.
I think so. Because when I walk past a few government buildings, I sometimes see them all looking out at me and pointing.
Yeah.
So
it's that guy.
Yeah.
The red Speedos guy.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I am wearing red Speedos at the time. Yeah. So
that's another reason.
Maybe that's why.
Like, whoa, 9.5 shoes. That's impressive.
That's a bit strange, mate. It's 1 degree. So they've moved it forward 2 years, but is that soon enough? 2028.
I mean, I think not. To be honest, I don't think it is, because it just means like, so now all these sellers who are previously going to be dumping their stock from the US going to the EU, and now the UK is just sitting here as an open target.
Yeah.
So, hey, it's football season. Open target, open goal.
Good. Sorry, needed to explain that analogy to me there. Yeah, I agree. The UK is just going to become, I guess, I don't know if they're going to double down on it because it's already massive in the UK anyway, but businesses are not going to see any relief on this for a long time. And we're seeing it across the board, right? This is a very common trend that a lot of sellers know about when selling on Amazon is squeezing by a lot of these Chinese sellers.
Now it's going to have more of them to work against.
Yeah. Possibly not even just Temu and Shein and AliExpress, but you've got a lot of smaller sellers who are doing the same thing in the EU. Maybe for whatever reason they weren't selling in the UK. Again, a massive target, so it's probably only going to get worse for the next 2 years. Do you think the UK government will bring it forward again?
Yeah, because they listen to our podcast, and you're going to walk past Whitehall, no doubt. So, great.
Okay, so Amazon and Anthropic are renegotiating pricing terms, and to be more specific, Anthropic are trying to change the terms with Amazon. Amazon's current fees are based on compute use, and Anthropic wants to change it to a token-based use, which many are suggesting is going to be more expensive for Amazon, long story short. Now, where we see two problems, not only is it just more expensive, but it gives Amazon less of a ability to budget as easily, because with the compute use, it's a bit easier to budget, and because they'll be getting charged the same amount. Whereas with the token use, it's easier for Anthropic because they get paid by usage, but Amazon can't as easily forecast the amount of usage and then possibly run into cash flow issues, possibly. The reason why this is important for our sellers is because we've seen it now that as soon as Amazon start running into cash flow issues,
They
pass on the cost to sellers in the form of holding back the disbursements and bigger disbursements.
I kind of think this is an interesting one because Amazon is also a major investor in Anthropic. So they kind of negotiate with themselves on this. It's very schizophrenic, but this is the whole part of this commonly known thing of the circular economy around AI.
Exactly. They are hedging their bets now, though, and trying to sweeten up to OpenAI. And apparently they've got their own system called Nova.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it is that. They use a lot of Anthropic's like Claude services for Rufus and for shopping assistants.
Rufus is now identifies as Alexa.
Yeah.
So Alexa, the shopping
assistants.
On the back end, all the generation stuff that takes place.
Yeah.
So there is a lot of AI that's in there. It'd be interesting to see how this plays out. I don't have a definitive answer on who's going to win this. But my feeling is we need to buckle up and just see what happens. Yeah. It could affect us. I don't know the scale at which this might affect small sellers though. But let's see.
Well, that's it, isn't it? It's just a story worth keeping an eye on because there's no solid answer on it yet. But I think for a lot of sellers who are seeing Amazon already start to hold back bigger reserves, possibly isn't going to get any better.
Juicy. There's one to watch.
Okay. We're first going to start with the key questions that people ask.
Yes.
Then we're going to move on to repeated mistakes that we see.
Okay. Great.
So Al hasn't seen most of these, so I'm going to catch him off guard.
Okay.
But this is Al's bread and butter. First question. A lot of people ask us this. We see this all the time. They ask us for what insert X metric is good / what should we expect? In this case, a lot of people have been asking you recently, what ACOS / TACOS or monthly spend should we expect? So I think this is especially relevant for brands who are starting from scratch and they'd like to try and budget.
Yeah. I think this is a really interesting question because a lot of tradition around talking about ads budget is based around ACOS and ROAS, and that's how a lot of people think. Those are important, but we've said loads of times and cut to previous versions of the pod or episodes where could have mentioned, but ACOS and ROAS are really good at a campaign level, but they won't tell you overall how your account's doing. To understand what your ads budget really should be, you should be considering TACOS. So TACOS, as you often say, is your total ad spend divided by your total revenue. This tells you the health of the ad campaigns. Now, what is a good number depends on several things, and this is what we often say. So it depends on your category, depends on your strategy, and it depends on where you are in the life cycle of your market entry. As a general rule of thumb, because people always want to know, the rule of thumb is essentially as you're entering a category, and this varies based on which category you're in, you want to be between 20 to 30% of your revenue is going to go towards ads. Because unfortunately you have to buy that visibility and get out there. However, if you have done a good job in optimizing your listings and you're doing your campaigns correctly, that number should come down because Amazon will reward you with organic listings and organic position based on your sales, and then so that number comes down. You're less reliant on your paid ad sales, and you're going to be getting more of your sales through organic. Long-winded answer, TACOS.
Yes, and I think there's an important point in there, which is don't start with ad spend. In that, and you'll know this better than me, by the sounds of this question, people ask first, okay, how much we're going to spend, but realistically you need to start with, okay, how much do we want to make? So what's the revenue target? And then work on a percentage off the back of that with the ad spend. Yeah,
exactly. And one thing we do for our brands is we will try and give them a sense of what revenue to expect depending on their strategy, because this is all affected by your strategy. And then based on that, we can give a rough indication of what that will be. Keeping in mind that in many ways you won't know until you start selling. So some of the stuff is finger in the air with data supporting you.
Yeah. And we won't know until we start selling is a key mistake we're going to come back to later. Okay. Cool. Following on from that.
Yes.
So the brand has started, or they've got an idea of how they want to start. Then they're going to turn around and ask you, okay, you mentioned that we need to invest to get sales, but how long is it going to take until we see sales start to come through?
Okay. So this is, again, an interesting one. It varies on category and it varies on the product and your off-platform strategy. The beginning, you're going to be buying your sales, essentially, and this is going to take some time. So what you're really thinking about is at the beginning, your sales are going to be very low. You won't going to get sales and momentum behind until you turn on the ads. And then even then, it's going to scale generally over time. Don't expect to break even until at least month 6. Now, again, of course, there's going to be exceptions to this, but you're looking at around 6 months of kind of just eating a little bit of pain until you get a break even on your monthly sales, and then a little bit longer till you get a break even on your overall sales. So there's like a double break even point that you want to be thinking about.
Yeah. And would you say that brands probably need to, again, when they're working on a broad forecast, have this cash available from the start?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because you can't rely on sales that don't exist yet.
Yeah. So we say to people, you want to kind of break your budget into 3 parts. You want to have enough to buy the stock at the beginning, another set for ads and to kind of just feed your ads. And then the third set is going to be to rebuy this like stock and replenish your inventory. One big thing I just want to just add and take a little side step on this is that once people start, they start to get freaked out and they don't kind of bear with it. It's going to take you 2-3 months just to kind of make sure you're moving in the right direction. And often what will happen is someone who's not directly involved in the Amazon side, maybe an accountant, a bookkeeper, or just a different manager, will look at the monthly sales and be like, why are we making a loss? And they're just kind of seeing these monthly losses, not looking at the overall picture to see over time this is decreasing and we're scaling towards something. And so there's a risk in kind of pulling the trigger too early.
I saw that myself.
Yeah.
As you know, there was one of the brands we work with that now is on track for $1 million in revenue, completely from scratch brand. And that is with as well around 15% net profit margin. And around 6 months in, their accountant turned around and took a total top line revenue and then a total net profit. And they turned around and they advised the brand that we were losing money. Mm-hmm. And we had to have this exact conversation. And now the brand is where I just
now
mentioned.
They're killing it. They're making very good returns.
That's very important.
Yeah. So have a long-term perspective on things as well. But another little risk.
Cool. Next up is possibly a controversial one, but I've left it in on purpose because I'm keen to hear your thoughts on this.
I love this.
People are asking, can we start with a lower retainer or a lighter touch setup?
Oh, okay. Now we're going beyond selling on Amazon. We're going to
come back.
Your agency.
We're going to come back.
So, okay. So in answer to this question, there's a few ways to think about it. One of the ways is to think about if you're hiring an agency partner, you could do what we do, but you could have them incentivized in a different way. So there's a base level of retainer, and then you align on growth, and you can reward the partner on growth they generate. That will kind of reduce some of that burden. The other way to think about it is the reality is even if you hire an agency or you have an in-house person, you are going to have a fixed cost of employment or whatever it is. There's going to be a cost of human resource somewhere in the mix. And that's just a reality of it. So you can either build that into your forecast and your plan and make sure it still works, or understand that, it's part of the overall running of the business. There's going to be a set of costs. Some will be just general operational costs, in which case the humans are kind of part of that. So that's the other way I think about it. Realistically, a lot of the work is front loaded. So there's a lot of design and optimization work that needs to be done at the beginning when you launch online. So I would keep that in mind. And for any partner that you get, if it's an agency, because if you have a staff member, that's just going to be fixed all the way out or throughout. But if you have an external partner, you don't want to disincentivize them from working, or you could work out a structure where certain elements are done later. So your enhanced content is done later, your web store is done later, and then that spreads the resource on their part out into different parts of the selling process. But again, it depends on strategy, depends on your partner and how they're structured.
And depends on the catalog, right?
Yeah.
Brands have got to set their expectations whenever they work with anybody, which is if you've got a catalog of 50 plus SKUs and you want them all optimized at the same time, firstly, terrible idea. Focus on one or a few at a time.
Yeah.
But that's a lot of work, right? Whereas if you want a lighter touch, a lighter retainer, think about the amount of products you've got. Start with potentially one at a time. We've seen a lot of successful brands on Amazon be successful from one or two SKUs. Now we know that you don't want to head your entire business on one or two SKUs, but in terms of a starting point, maybe that's something that a brand could consider.
It sounds like it's a discussion that you would have with your external partner, and just align on priorities and reward, I guess.
Cool. Do we need a trademark or brand registry before launch?
Oh man, this is so important. Get a trademark, so important. I go through this all the time. If you have followed me on Instagram, small plug. Put a link in the bio in the description. But I 100% recommend. I mean, I wouldn't even do this if you were not going to get a trademark. If you can't get a trademark for your brand, please consider renaming your brand.
Yes, I have worked with brands who have tried this in the past.
Yes.
And it is really tough to make any changes to the listings.
So just to clarify why you need a trademark, it will unlock brand registry. If you get brand registry, you can control what the brand looks like on the platform. You can protect your listings a lot easier. Plus, you get access to a whole suite of tools and data that you don't get if you do not have a trademark or realistically brand registry. So get a trademark. It's not expensive. It's not too hard. Make it a priority.
Cool. So let's move on to repeated mistakes.
Yes.
So this is the juicy bit.
Okay. Hopefully this will save you guys some money. So let's do this.
Yes. Number one is people underestimating the amount of setup work needed before ads can, one, be switched on, and two, scale.
Yeah, 100%. So this happens a lot. Before you drive traffic to a listing, make sure it's optimized as much as possible, because you're going to be sending traffic to something that is not going to sell. So you're going to lose money on the sale and you lose money on the ads. So unless you've optimized there's going to be iterations, but optimize, and that's really, really important. That involves getting your keywords right, getting your descriptions right, title, and then fundamentally, really important, your images. Spend time on your images, make sure they do the selling for you, and then look at your delivery promise, and then before you turn on any of your ads, get some reviews in there, because people will turn things on and not have reviews. And again, you need to have that social proof, so people are going, yes, I approve of this product, purchase.
Yeah. So don't rush.
Don't rush. And if your reviews are below 3.7,
don't bother.
Stop. Don't put them. Fix whatever the complaint is or the issue is. So address that issue. It may be with the product. It may be with something else. It could be that the listing is not adequately describing the product. So find out what the complaint's about. Get that fixed. You want to aim for a review score of at least 4.25.
So these two actually link together.
Okay.
And I think this is actually going to underpin a lot of the conversation we've had so far.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to run through them both at the same time, and we can go from there.
Let's do it.
So first of all, not planning for stock levels, shelf life, or the consequences of running out. And I'm linking that in with treating forecasting as a promise rather than a model that needs iteration. So we use this a lot, and you mentioned this, and we said we're going to come back to it.
Mm-hmm.
First of all, with the stock, what percentage of our brands would you say their main mistake is running out of stock?
It's the most common issue we have.
Yeah. In our internal conversations, pretty much any time sales are down, stock. So that's number one. And number two is the forecasting. I think this is really important because you cannot take your forecast as gospel. And something that we do in the team a lot is we'll make a forecast for whatever time the brand needs it for. Often if brands are, say, manufactured in China and selling in the US, there's quite a big lead time. Sometimes you can be looking at 4 months lead time. So the forecast is very much necessary for them to be able to ensure that stock is in and
Yep.
ensure the whole supply chain is set up. But we always preface the forecast with, and especially if a brand is new to selling, we will be updating this every week.
Mm-hmm.
Please don't base everything off this
set in
forecast.
stone. Yep.
We need to review this constantly, and that is something we do. We make sure we update it constantly. So forecasting isn't just a one-time thing for a brand. Don't just do it at the start and leave it and say, okay, that's good. Now let's move on and see what sales we generate against those targets.
Mm-hmm.
It needs to be very dynamic along with how the performance is actually going.
Yeah, and I get why this happens, right? Because you have to place your orders and produce everything. So if I can take a step back and just explain the issue around stock, and then I'll kind of circle around to the forecasting. My thinking is this, where the reality is Amazon will search suppress you if you have less than 30 days worth of stock in the UK or 45 in the US. So that means you're going to get less visibility. With less visibility means less sales. So you want to make sure you always have at least 6 to 8 weeks worth of stock in the Amazon warehouse or available for sale in your fulfillment centers. So that's the first thing you want to make sure you do. And that's why we emphasize this stock point. But then now as you're entering a market and you create a forecast, or if you're already selling and you've got a forecast in place, what you're essentially doing is using those unit requirements to feed through to production and operations to say we need to order and produce the following number of units. But to your point, you need to keep monitoring this on a regular basis because it's going to change. Now, this may require a really strong understanding of having like additional stock and cash flow. And this is a topic that comes up a lot. And if you watch the episodes with Samid on the pod, it's a really big topic that he talks about because it's so important managing your cash flow. So I get that a brand will look at a forecast and go, cool, this is telling us how much stock we need to order. But you need to realize or keep in mind, I should say, that it's a guesstimate based on data. Or it should at least be based on data if it's not done with us, but ours are heavily based on data, which then inform your operations, but you need to kind of monitor that and not update things as they come along. It's hard if you have a long lead time, so you will need to add in buffers and you need to add in requirements for cash flow. But that's the reality of managing a business, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Is that fight and challenge of managing cash flow as well as the other parts of the business.
Yeah. So 2 other quick points on that one. And we see this quite often as well. Build a habit of, before getting excited about the sales growth you're seeing ever, there should always be a precursor of, have I got enough stock to deal with this? And it's actually quite funny whenever we see, I know this is the case in the team, whenever I personally see sales on a particular product on one of the brands I'm working on fly up, I should be smiling, but my initial thought is, oh, actually, let me check the stock. Have we got enough for that?
Yeah.
And yeah, I think it's very easy to get carried away if you're doing well and just forget the fact that you need to be looking way off into the future and not just at day-to-day sales. And we mentioned in there shelf life. Something that people need to know as well is if your product has a shelf life. So Amazon don't actually accept the stock 105 days before
it expires.
And even if your stock is dated that's currently in Amazon, for say it's the 31st of May, 2027, Amazon will actually suppress that and stop selling that stock 45 days before.
Yeah. So what Amazon does is they will only accept stock in their warehouse if it has 105 days of shelf life remaining. So you can't send it in if it has less, and they will stop selling a product if it has less than a certain amount. Now, Amazon know this number, not because they look at each bottle, but when you're sending the stock in, you have to enter the expiry date for products, because taking another step back on that, when you create a listing, it will ask you, does it have a shelf life? So that way, when you send into Amazon's warehouses, it'll ask you for that.
Yeah.
It's a big issue. So you need to monitor your shelf life as well as the stock units, the stock levels as well.
Yeah.
I think where this is important is for products that have naturally on production have a short shelf life. For those, it just means you have to fulfill it yourself. So you can still sell it. It's only going to go. So if you're doing like a really high quality butter or a high quality juice or a drink, like cold pressed fresh juices, they're going to have a short shelf life. So you need to just make sure that you work that into your plan around fulfillment.
Cool. Let's move on. Assuming the same pack size or product format should be used everywhere. I know you are a stickler for this one.
Yeah. This is because, and again, I get the reality of why it happens, but it's just important to manage the expectation. It happens because people will produce a product for traditional retail shelves, whether it would be a 6-pack or a 12-pack of it, and then they want to kind of send that stock into Amazon for fulfillment. You can, but it needs to make sense. So if it's a drink, that makes sense because people will buy that on a multi-pack. However, if it's I don't know, like a bag of sugar, people aren't going to buy a 12-pack of sugars, right? So it just doesn't make sense for them to do that. So it needs to make sense for the customer to purchase. The other part of that is the packaging it goes in will be set up for retail shelves. So it's shelf-ready packaging, SRPs, which often have perforated edges, or they're designed for a human stacker to pick up and tear off an element, put it on a shelf, and make it presentable for customers to buy from a shelf. But that doesn't mean it's going to house it properly and protect it properly as it goes through the pick, packing, and postage elements of stock going to customers. So you need to have what I call ship-ready packaging. That's also really important. Final point on this, if I can add one, is variety packs. Because if you're buying online, especially for a new product, customers won't necessarily buy 12 of a single drink. They may want to try the 3 different flavors that you produce. And easily 60 to 80% of your sales are going to come from that mixed pack variety, especially when you start.
Yeah. And not even just a mixed pack, but like a trial version of that mixed pack. So if it's like a pack of 12, you sell a pack of 4 with just each of the 4 flavors.
Yeah.
Yeah, I completely agree. We're going to leave the last one on a bit of a cliffhanger because we are about to record 2 episodes on this very topic.
Oh.
So stick around for what's coming next and watch the next episode. But that mistake that we see, and again, this is arguably the most important mistake that we see historically, but especially moving forward now, it is so important, which is brands not aligning their Amazon strategy with D2C, retail, or off-platform marketing, especially if you're selling a product that isn't necessarily the cheapest in the market, which is the case for most small to medium sellers. That is what you should be focusing on right now if you're not already. So we'll leave it on a cliffhanger because we're going to come back to it.
And here's the answer.
Well, thank you, Al.
Cool.
That is all your mistakes.
It's been an honor to share this first pod with you as a co-host. So thank you, good sir.
Thank you.
And for everybody at home, I know it's a bit longer than we normally do things, but hopefully it's been useful. Send us your views on it. It'd be great.
Yes, and we know you're a very busy man, so I'm sure we're going to have a lot more of these mistakes and a lot more questions coming up.
Yeah, and if you have questions or mistakes or issues that you often see, drop them in the comments. We will answer them. I promise you, you'll get an email from me, and at the bottom will be a little... Peace.
What am I doing?